Okay. It's 7:05. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. So let's get started with April's action items. So looking at the minutes from our last meeting, the first action item was that I would submit a request to Paul McCallie to have Ruth Marie Swisher reappointed as alternate, and I did, and they reappointed you at the last meeting. So thank you for agreeing to be on the board. Let's see, the next one was that the Library Board of Trustees would meet to go over budget changes, which we did, and we submitted the default, our default budget version to Paul, which he brought before the Town Council, which we can talk about in more detail when we get to that on our agenda. That you would email me dates for our meeting with Deb Hoadley, which you did, and we are scheduled to meet with her on June 11th at 6:30 to go over the where we are with our strategic plan, I guess is the best way to put it. And then Yvette will investigate if chillers should be a bid. That was on the action items. So I'm just okay.
I was supposed to receive their proposal on the 17th last Friday.
So I guess my question is: so chiller should be a bid, or the request for proposal would come from the town? I could just microphone. I think. Are you on?
So I didn't receive the proposal from the vendor.
Okay.
I was supposed to get that on the 17th Friday.
Okay.
And I think based on what the estimated cost is going to be, it's going to be more than $5,000,
Mm-hmm.
$10,000, then we should go through the process and put it on a bid
Okay.
because that's the town's procedure.
Okay. So we can talk about that too if we want to just move into putting it on a bid, or if we want to wait for the estimate, because it's probably going to be over $5,000, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think, I would think my automatic action would just be work with Kelly.
Yeah.
Or you can advise or instruct me to work with Kelly to put a bid
Yeah.
together. You can
Yep.
see the draft.
I think that's like while we're here, I think that would make sense to just get
I
it
think so.
done like that. So I'd like to make a motion that we have Yvette work with Kelly to put together a bid for the chiller.
Second.
Okay. A request for proposal, I should say, for the.
Yeah.
Any conversation or thoughts on this? And we have to, if it's over a certain amount anyways, it would just make sense to move forward rather than waiting on them for a quote at this point. So, okay, if there's no further comments or questions, all those in favor? Okay, 500. Great, thanks, Yvette. I'll just move forward with that.
Sure.
Those were all the action items, unless anybody has anything else that we needed to address.
I didn't have anyone respond with additions or comments or anything.
Oh.
So
Microphone, please.
just wanted to confirm the objectives are all set. I didn't have any. There was no one that had any edits or changes to those.
Well, there's no date. There's a date. You need to set a date. You need to
Set a date to deliver.
be more specific with things. So, and by a certain date.
Okay, I'll go back and look at that. Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks for that feedback.
Sure.
Okay. SMP is just on there. Strategic plan, I already mentioned that we would meet with Deb Hoadley on June 11th. Yvette, do you have any update on her interactions with staff? I know you had said that the committee would be a little bit smaller, the steering committee.
No.
Okay.
I sent her I sent her the list of staff and I haven't really heard
Okay.
back.
All right, great. Just checking in, just seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as far as I emailed Ruth Marie and Robbie to see you had 2 on there, so if we could go down to 1 trustee to
Yep.
make it 5.
Okay. Great. Okay, building maintenance project list. Any questions or
Are we gonna
It's
do
very
the,
quiet tonight.
Are we gonna-
Hi, anybody? Everybody.
like the slate roof is on that, so are we gonna talk about the slate roof now or hold it?
It is old business. We can talk about it now. We might as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll talk about the slate roof. So Yvette sent us two bids for the slate roof. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at them. Let's see. One was from North Boston Contracting and the other was from Triumph Roofing.
Yeah, I didn't realize, and thanks for answering my questions around the way about the warranty or guarantee, which I had already forgotten was included in the RFP. But thank you for mentioning that. But I was glad there was two
Yeah, and
quotes
there's
to take a look at.
quite a significant difference in pricing too.
Yeah.
So I guess we can kind of bump up building committee a little bit too. That we met with Yvette, and Yvette stated that Garland didn't have a preference over either of the two that are viable for us to choose from. My suggestion or my thought is just to go with the lower one because it's lower. But if there's nothing outstanding about either of them that
Mhm.
makes us lean one way or another.
I agree with that. I mean, they're markedly different. So, based on what else to, go forth with, but
Mhm.
I really did. I mean, I originally wanted to go with the more expensive one just because I felt like their proposal was a little bit more thorough. But in the end, they're both saying the same thing. And if we didn't go with the lower one, then the lower guys could come back and be like, we did what, like we said we would do what you wanted. Why wouldn't you have chosen us? So I guess I'd go with the lower one too.
Okay.
My only other thought about the slate roof is, what are we not asking to get information on? And I mean, it's a very blanket question, but I feel like we've gone through too many projects where we think we're doing something and we forgot something. And then we have to go back and revisit it. What are we not thinking about or considering for the slate roof?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Garland saw the original RFP we posted and rewrote it to
Right.
capture all the things we did miss.
Okay.
So none of us are roofers,
Exactly.
but they changed it for us
Right.
because they saw it was wrong, and it didn't ask for the things that they understood we wanted to ask. And I met with them, Kelly met with them, and talked it out and understood what they were trying to do with us and help us for no cost, just because it was the right way to approach a project.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
You're good with that.
I have to be confident that their rewritten RFP captured everything that we missed.
Okay.
So, and then it seemed in the walkthrough that the vendors who were there all were talking the same language.
They were.
So, I mean,
Okay. Okay. But I still would say the lower one.
Would you like to make a motion or?
Or Jen.
we would name by name the quote by vendor.
I think you want to do vendor and price for the minutes.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll motion to approve the quote from North Boston Contracting for $7,995. Is that all I have to say? Is there anything
Why don't we
else?
just put to repair the slate roof? Just because
As written
as
in
written in the RFP. Yeah.
I know that was long, but is there a second?
Second.
No, but it's good, when people look back at minutes too,
Yeah.
it's like, we know it's the slate roof,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
someone looking back years from now could be like, what were they doing with this company? So it's good for us to
Yeah,
just have as much
absolutely.
information in there. So thank you, Molly, and thank you, Janet. Any other discussion? Janet did. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, all those in favor? 500. Great. Go ahead, Janet.
What are we paying it out of?
I was just going to say,
Oh.
there was money in buildings, right? In building maintenance.
There is money in building maintenance. Yep, which was a discussion I was going to ask about
Mhm.
as we went further. But maintenance, building and grounds, there is
Was
extra
there not
money.
already a PO set aside for it or no?
For the slate roof?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So I'll note that we're taking in buildings.
Well, it's up for discussion.
What are the other options, or is there concern that that money should be used for something else? Yeah.
I don't know. There are other options. We can take it out of the building line.
It's all coming from the town appropriated budget
Correct.
either way. So if we take it from buildings where we know there's money, we still have additional funds if something else came up with the building that we needed to address.
Correct.
Okay. So then it makes sense to use it out of that line.
Which one?
The first one that you mentioned, let me pull up the
The
general.
maintenance, building and grounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's just I was going to ask. I just don't know why there's so much left over.
There's also in
Yeah,
buildings. There's
Not
100
buildings. It's the
Right.
5802. Oh yeah.
8321.
8321.
Yeah,
Sorry, I looked at the wrong line.
Yeah, that's 17,500 and change.
So that's where I would take it out of. But it doesn't have to go there. I mean, we have other options, or at least another.
It's the same pot. We're running towards the end of the
Yeah.
year. We're going to be encumbering funds because we know we have this chiller project coming up and other things. So it makes sense to take it out of that money. It's repairing the building. Yeah.
Done.
Do we need to make a motion to do that just so that it's recorded that that's where it'll be taken
Sure.
from as well?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to pay the slate roof out of maintenance, building and grounds. It's 15,8321.
Okay.
Second.
Any concerns or comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Great, 500. Great. I feel like that slate roof was kind of literally hanging over our heads, but it was a slate roof project. It's been there for a while. At least we're moving in the right direction, getting that taken care of. So great. Thank you. Thank you to Yvette for working with the town to get the RFP and the building committee for going to the walkthrough and, moving it forward.
Garland's help.
And Garland
Yeah.
for their help, and Kelly. So great. Okay, that was a lot under our old business, but anything else for the maintenance project list while we're here?
I actually have one. We talked about the HVAC last meeting with the corrosion and changing out filters. Is that something that Jared has started?
I don't know. I'd have to check because we just barely turned the air conditioning on.
Right.
So I don't know if he's started that list. We have a list for him, so and his supervisor's away, so I can double check the list and talk with him. And I think there was no reason for him to not start
Right.
on those things in the report. So if it's not on the list, I'll put it on the list and I'll have him start.
Yeah, that's
No.
great.
Okay.
Do we want to address all building issues now, or you want to wait till later, like the elevator door proposal?
We're here. It's on
Yeah.
the building maintenance project list, and we might as well move forward with that. So
Well, if you want me to introduce it, we had this was not included in the full elevator project, was to resurface the doors and the casings. Yvette, there were two different options, right? One was the spray painting, which sounds like that's not really recommended, and that was the higher cost. And the other was to wrap. There's a special wrap because we can't just go ahead and paint them. So the wrap is 10,970.
I thought that was great. I mean, it's expensive. I mean, to me, for what it is, but everything's expensive. So I haven't put eyes on what it is we're covering because I don't really ever go that way. But
I took a photo of the upstairs, but not the
Oh.
downstairs. I don't know if you want. I should have sent it.
or
around.
is no, that's not the photo in the quote. That's something else.
You could throw my cat pictures first.
Like I just the question is like we all feel like it needs to be done. Like there's no question about it needs to be done. I guess is my only question.
You can zoom
I
in
think
and
it's one of
see.
those things where, like Janet was talking about, that, yeah, it's a shame that we didn't think of that or didn't like include that in the initial project. So then it would be done in one fell swoop, that kind of thing. That's the,
Okay.
yeah. So, Yvette, what's your, what's the, your
You
and the
can
staff's
zoom in and
preferred?
see, like, all the scratches.
It's a cosmetic
Hmm.
issue. So, you know, I mean, we brought it to you because ugly. Yeah.
Well, which is your, but so
So we would love to have it done, you know, but
wrap?
if it
the wrap.
yeah, the electrostatic painting is much more involved and complicated. It's not advised to have the fumes going up the shaft. So, you know, the wrap would be the preferred fix to it. They're still going to need to put the elevator out of service and have someone come in to put the elevator out of service, so it'll be out for the duration of that little project.
I guess maybe I'm looking at two different things because this one we're saying a wrap, but they're replacing the door.
No,
So this isn't the right. So that says they're going to put new door.
oh, the wrap is the frame. It's the door and then the frame.
So remove existing painted door panels at top and bottom landings. Provide 2 new door panels. But that's not the full door, is it? Something that goes on the door.
There's a door frame. Like around this door, there's a frame.
I think it's like an overlay that goes on the existing elevator door and frame. No?
Because
That's the impression I have.
That was my
Yeah.
question.
The proposal says new
Replacing
door.
the door.
Yeah, the proposal says 2 new door panels finished in brushed stainless steel, clad existing frame assemblies in stainless steel. So they are putting new doors in.
Panels.
New door panels. So you think that the door panels are different from the door? That it's like
I
that?
think so, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I would bet it is.
Right, it's something that goes over the actual. They're not taking out the full doors.
No,
They're
it's
putting something.
putting something on, and then they're also talking about the frame around the door.
I get where it's confusing because we don't know what panel means.
Right, like,
Your
yeah, right.
language.
To me, that's
It has arrows.
yeah, right.
Arrows are helpful.
Yeah.
Right? It's like when they do
That's
that.
what I'm using.
Janet, if we were to do this, where do you think we would pull the money from?
Building.
Building. And we've got, that's the one that's got 128,
Yeah.
904 in it, so it's plenty. That's we're entering in the last month of the fiscal year. And none of that is earmarked for anything else, correct?
In building?
Yeah.
No,
Well, we
there's a in the, what is it, the HVAC has a PO that's, there is one for HVAC that's there
That's in that line.
in that line, but there's still like 33 that's not accounted for. So, and in reality, all of it's for the building. That even the chiller was just to put it onto something. Not the chiller, the HVAC was just to put it onto something. So, it all needs to go to the building.
Ready for a motion? I don't know.
There's
Any
more
other
discussion.
Yeah, do you want me to, I can make a motion and we can discuss. So I'll make a motion to hire Stanley Elevator Company to refurbish the doors and frames for the both upstairs and downstairs elevator doors for $10,970, and that would come out of our buildings line 8502.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, questions?
Sounds great.
Yeah, I just wish that we were like, it had been done. Like, I just wish when they were doing it that had come up in the conversation as like, yeah, this can be a gorgeous elevator, and then we're gonna have this, that sort of thing. So that we have the money. So, all right. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? 500. Are we coming to an end with the building stuff? No, stop. I feel like we've been chipping away
It
at
would be
this.
wonderful.
We've the granite steps, the sign for the sign out there. We've done the carpeting. We just did the treads, which I heard are good, very good.
They
New-
look terrific.
yeah,
Yeah,
new-
Janet.
New
Yeah.
elevator.
Yeah.
We're doing the roof. We're looking at the chiller. Like, okay. Sprinklers are there. Yes. Okay. All right, Janet, enough. Let's enjoy what we're doing before we have to think about that. Okay. Anything else to deal with under the building maintenance project list?
I think just on sprinklers, Yvette was going to work with Kelly on RFP for that.
Yeah, I have the vendor and we're playing phone tag.
And
Yeah.
that's the vendor that did
This
this
is-
here in town hall.
This is the
right?
vendor that has the contract with the town now.
Oh,
And they can come in and assess our system, make recommendations. So, yep, just
Great.
playing phone tag.
It's really nice to have somebody who's already been working with the town. That's
Yes,
huge.
it's great.
So. Okay, great. Is there anything else? All right, new business. Fiscal year 2023-24 budget, the general ledger, invoice manifest and open POs. So Yvette, there were some things highlighted on the general ledger.
Yeah.
Was that something you wanted to point out to
I
us?
sure do.
Okay.
So we've talked a little bit about the maintenance and buildings and grounds, A321. So that is, we've got some things allocated to that. So that's good, because I was wondering, why is that so darn high? And then kind of the same, I didn't have the same question with buildings, but I did talk to the department heads today about the library programs line and the library materials line. And this is much higher than kind of our actual, because a lot of things have been ordered and we haven't received invoices for. And Janet and I have been kind of emailing back and forth, and I didn't get your email until like 6 o'clock when I was already working with Jen on these things. So we're in really good shape. And they're still making some purchases for materials. Jen has asked them to put their final order in by June 1st. so that we can keep everything in this fiscal year, and they are hustling to do that. I'm looking forward to July 1st when we can start kind of fresh and spend things in a little different order. But that's that. Postage, we're still overspent, and we have a suggestion in this packet about charging for interlibrary loan out of state postage. So we can talk about that later. The other question that I have, which I'm going to write to Kelly about, is the hourly wages line. I checked we talked about this in department heads today. And this is something we've kind of noticed is a total that keeps decreasing, and I'm not sure why, but I looked at last April's April 2023 ledger, and it was about the same. It was like 35 or 32. And then when I looked at July of 2023, so the start of this fiscal year, it was 100,000. So I don't know what this is for, because if I'm reading this, we have a budget. Here's what's spent, to date. There's a balance, and then there's things that are encumbered. So, they are preparing to pay the payroll for the remainder of the fiscal year. But the budget balance, I don't understand why. So I'm going to ask finance what this means, unless anyone else has some insight to it. But I don't know, because we haven't had
Well,
openings.
that's exactly what I was checking. I happen to have the 23-24 up,
There you go.
and all our hourlies are accounted for.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
So
Right. And so, but why is it decreasing?
yeah,
So I don't know.
that
But
that is strange,
is
because
very
what the so for those of you that don't know what's going on, what the town does is at the start of the fiscal year, they encumber all the wages for the year. Essentially, they just encumber it and say, okay, this is what you encumber, which is why, like, under the professional supervisory professional, there's a balance of 741. There's essentially, they just encumber everything, so that balance, so they just take it from, when they do payroll, they just take it from all the encumbrant, what's been encumbered. So that's weird that they encumbered what they thought they're supposed to encumber, but yet the budget balance is also getting lower. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird, because our staff hasn't changed. Our staff from July of 23 has stayed the same. So what they encumbered should be the same, and the budget balance should stay the same. That's weird.
Yep.
I don't know.
well, I'm gonna find out, and I can email you all when I discover. But that's why I highlighted it, because I wanted to remember to bring it up. And I don't know. Yeah, so that's that. I don't know if you have other questions.
Well, I guess with the materials,
Yep.
if things are on order, shouldn't that be under those be encumbered also? Wouldn't that be indicated in there?
No, because it's like, probably I should have said they're marked on order in Polaris.
Okay.
But if we haven't paid for it, it's like encumbered in Polaris as well.
Okay.
So Jen's totals for her material, for all the materials budgets that are cataloged
Mm-hmm.
are accurate.
Okay.
And until we get an invoice and submit that, then it's not going to show up on this. And this is April, so it's already a couple weeks old.
So what is under, like, when there's $13,498.99, what is considered encumbered then?
So those would be the things that are on order. We have a lot of POs. If you see a PO that we've encumbered for materials.
Okay. So it's those sorts of
Yeah.
things, but not just an order that's outstanding that the money has been it doesn't look at it that way.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
I also want to point out that the balance The budget balance is will show the allotted trustee money also in it. So it's like 8,000 something that we contribute is also part of that. What number? The 20, almost 25,000. So it's actually like $8,000 less.
Okay. All right, that's good.
But
to know.
and if I could just, if I'm following you correctly, if we look down to like the 38 lines, that's where the trustee funds are subtracted out.
Right. It's
So-
they don't take it out of like your bottom line materials. That 106 is correct, but it includes the trustee money.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's weird.
Good to know. Okay, because when Jen, we looked at it last week or Monday, I kind of forget. And I was like, can you, it's not this, it's not, and so she went back and she was matching up with Polaris and she's like, well, I've accounted for this much, but not this. So that might be the trustee funds that we were wondering about. Okay, I'll go back and we'll be talking about
And the
this
same
tomorrow.
thing happens in programs. Like it's at 6,200
Mhm.
and there's 3,000 of that
Okay.
was from us. And
Then, okay.
so you're
because-
actually doing,
yeah,
there's only, I think, like 800 or something
okay.
left.
That makes more sense with what we talked about today
Yeah.
in my meeting. So, okay.
So
Fantastic.
it's just how they account for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we learned this last year. We did.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on the general ledger? We're getting to that time of year where it's, a couple months to go. Good to know how much is in there, what any projects are, any things that we need to fund out of that before the end of the fiscal year.
You answered that. Oh, we're still on POs. So the Tucker
Yep.
PO was closed,
Mhm.
and then you had 2 open POs from that, like the new desk and Customer Electric.
Mhm.
But that doesn't equal the total of what was. So where did the rest of the money go?
Oh, I'd have
Is it just going to go back into
It
like,
will.
building or
Yeah,
whatever?
it will, because
Okay.
if you close it, it goes back into the building line and then
Okay.
we recapture it for the new project.
Okay.
So it's still the children's desk. It's still the same project. It's just we had to move vendors.
Right. So I
So
just
it'll just stay in the building
okay.
line.
And then that's it.
I just, on the PO list, we're coming up on a year of the directional signage and upgrade
Oh, yeah.
TV and clump room. Are those anything that's moving on those?
They are moving.
Oh, good.
Yes. So, because Joanne is off right now, I'm taking over the directional sign. And so we've had a vendor come in and we're speaking with a vendor. So that's, very much in process. The upgrade to the television, we've been, talking with Jonathan at the town IT's department because he had offered to advise us on a different television, and he's incredibly busy, so it's a little hard to tag him. So we just have to keep trying.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yep, but those are definitely in process.
Great. Any other questions? We'll just say it's really nice to see a PO report and they're all like 2023, 2024. Like they're all like within the last 2 years. There used to be a lot of sort of, POs from past years that were just sitting there, and it's nice to see them that it's gotten cleaned up, that we're, on task, and it's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Good.
Okay, so we'll move on to the default budget, the fiscal year 2024-25 default budget. So the trustees did meet. Yvette and her staff went through and made some cuts and, worked really hard on that. And it was a great starting place for us to work from. So that was really helpful. When we looked at it, we did a couple of things. We decided that we reinstated some of the materials money that had been originally cut. But then we also decided that we had originally proposed a 6% raise for the full-time staff. And I think the recommendation had been 3 from you guys. And then or maybe you would just put that in as like an option. And we went with 4. And then we did raise the part-time staff hourly wages by, I believe it was $2. And that was a hard decision. And it was not what our ideal was. It was not what we intended to do. But we wanted to help out and do our part. And we actually ended up contributing more of a decrease than, we did what helped out with the town. We wanted to do our part. I guess that's the best way to put it. The voters had voted and we were respecting that and cutting what we could as well. So with that, we're left with not exactly what we wanted. And I know that there's some concern, and we did receive a letter from one of our staff members, Alyssa Jobin, which I hope you all had a chance to look over and see. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that we received that and that we are aware of the concerns, and ask if anyone had any comments or questions or things they wanted to contribute about that. Yes.
I received another letter
Okay.
from another staff person, if you wouldn't mind passing. This is from Sheila Lippman, and the format of her letter is that she is following the appeals process policy. So if you remember this policy, it kind of starts a clock ticking for first myself, but I feel that I can't address this appeal because I am not in control of the budget, and it is the trustees' budget. So I communicated with Sheila via email this afternoon that I would be passing it up. So I made copies for all of you, so you could each have a copy of this letter, and I would just encourage you to address it in a timely fashion following your policy.
So I guess I'm not really sure what, I understand what she's upset about, but I'm not really sure what our action would be in relation to this. I guess, I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I have a question because
Yes.
I may have missed a meeting that
Mhm.
this wasn't, or I missed an email. What was communicated to the staff? Because I read in the email there was an increase due to part-time responsibilities.
Yes. After the town council meeting, I emailed the department heads and said, here's the result of the vote. The default budget passed with these changes that the trustees put forward, and communicate this to your staff.
I think there's some concern that there was a bigger increase to the part-time wages than to the full-time. And I can speak to that in saying that we've been giving consistently. We gave in the last 3 years, I believe it was a 6%, a 5%, and then this year will be a 4% raise to the full-time staff members. And we know that we need to address that. With the default budget, we couldn't do everything. And so I think that the thought was like, we can afford to finally get our part-time people up to where they probably should be, knowing that we are still addressing the other raises. We ended up a few years ago kind of splitting it up because giving a 5% raise on $12 seemed silly. So we started giving like a $1 bump to a wage so that we could actually make gains. I looked back on the 2022 report of staff salaries, and our part-time people were making $12.72. That's what we were reporting. We're not competitive, right? That wasn't. So now we are back up and trying to get people, I think, within a range that then we can make adjustments to that range, and there'll be a process in place. And we know that we need to address the full-time staff members, but I think people were specifically concerned that there was not that much of a differential between an hourly wage and a full-time wage. I think that was one of the concerns that people had, and yeah. And I think that I know that Yvette had mentioned this, that, there is, of course, with full-time employment, there's the benefits package and retirement also, which is part of it. But I know that that doesn't help for people when they're trying to make ends meet. I understand that, but it is part of our financial package that we have those additional costs associated with full-time employees. Yeah, so I don't know if there's something else that,
Well, and I also saw the request of a commitment due to the strategic plan being paused, but there were other reasons that we understand why the strategic plan was paused.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, I mean, we can commit to the plan being packed back up, but I'm not sure. We haven't seen the output of the plan yet, and that was part, we're looking to see if there's a salary review, but I saw there was a request for a commitment to that, and I think we need to back up to say we need the
yeah,
plan first.
I think that's true. The problem that we face is that we need to start working on our next budget for the next fiscal year,
And we're
like
still
in
in-
October, and we might not be completely at that place. And so I think there's that kind of balancing of time. When Janet and I met as the finance committee, and one of the things we talked about was the salary survey, which is something that was mentioned in Alyssa's letter. But I understand that people aren't using that same company to do the salary
No,
survey.
I'm looking for another vendor.
Mm-hmm. And we do have the statistics from 2022, where everybody, the state library, collects those for
Yeah.
salaries and wages. So I was looking at that in some comparable libraries, and Janet and I were talking about putting together even just like a Google sheet that shows, and I get it, that was 2 years ago, but kind of gives us an idea of like comparable libraries, what the ranges
I
were.
have the spreadsheet.
Okay.
I've already created it for you.
Okay, great. So that, that would be something you could share, because that
Yeah.
gives us a starting point
Yeah.
to see, some of the things we'd have to take into consideration were longevity and, some of the things like I did look at a couple, and it's not uncommon for somebody who was hired as a full-time position to not be making that much more than somebody who's been part-time for 12 years, right? Because there's been that person's wages have grown. So there are some things that are maybe standard across not a lot of libraries, but I've seen it in more than one library that they're also in that same situation we're in. So I don't know, that's kind of
Okay.
a little bit more of
Ruth
background.
Marie,
maybe
if I could
needed.
just
Yeah, please.
maybe explain the statistics she's talking about. So the state library, every year, all the libraries are asked to submit our data for the whole report, the state report, which is published on the state library website. So the most current one is 2022.
On
So
library
on
website.
the state library, and
Okay.
it's every library, all 240 libraries in the state. I think there's one library that doesn't submit, but they're a one-person library, so maybe it's tough. But so we don't have the data. We haven't, we did the state report, and that's usually due in April for 2023. So that data isn't compiled yet and published
Okay.
on the website. That's why we're talking about 2022.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I took the state report, downloaded it to my computer, only saved our comparators. So GMILKs and I did throw in Nashua. Nashua is a union library, so it's very hard to really compare apples to apples with them. But if someone lives in Merrimack, they could take a job in Nashua.
Sure.
So it's not, I went a little bit out, that's like our outlier, but I have it in a spreadsheet for you.
Yeah,
You
it would be
can-
great if you could just share that
For
with
sure.
people, maybe then, because then we could get an idea. And I
Start
wonder if
looking.
there's a way that we could include, maybe that can come from you or from Janet, like just where our staff are. Like, because I
Where
noticed.
I have it.
Okay, because if they do it with the hourly, because that's would be apples to apples with them.
Sure.
Because I was looking at like an overall staff salary, but versus they list it by hourly, what people are making.
Yeah,
So-
when I kept our data in the spreadsheet.
Okay.
That I
Yeah, but we've
Save
made
aside.
changes since then,
Sure.
which I know they have too. But
start,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
they
but
have.
but our changes, but some of our changes have been a little more drastic, right? So
Right.
when you're looking at a $12, that's now like a $17.
Yeah.
That's a bigger jump, and that would be good if we could just have what our current one is, knowing that what we're looking at is compared to what people were at 2 years ago.
I can
So
update all of that.
that would be great.
Awesome.
I think I want to honor Sheila's concern. I do want to state that it says here that it's the action you're planning on putting into practice made in the capacity of library director. You are just an agent for the board. We voted on this. This was not Yvette. This was us. So I don't want that. I just want to state that clearly. But I'm not really sure what our course of action will be because she doesn't specifically ask us to do something. So I'm not sure how to proceed.
I don't know if we need to look at what the appeals process is, because my understanding of it in the past was if maybe it's a disciplinary issue and then they can appeal that, but I'm not sure how they can appeal a salary change.
And it also states that it's a proposed change to only a small number of staff members and excluded others. And we changed everybody's. It might not be as big of an impact if you're a full timer because it was got done by percentage, but we did raise everybody's wages. Nobody was actually excluded from that. We've been doing that, like I said, separated in that way because to give a 5% raise on $12 wasn't addressing what was our real concern for us.
Yeah,
So,
I communicated everything that you're saying, Deb, as best as I could.
mhm,
And when she was not satisfied, I said, you do have an appeals
mhm,
venue, avenue to take,
mhm.
which is posted on the website and also in our staff policy manual. And, of course, I'd want to encourage anyone who has a complaint, I'm not satisfying them
Mhm.
with this, to go ahead
Oh,
and
absolutely.
communicate to the board.
Yeah, and
So-
I just wanted to make that from those two things that this was not your decision. This
No.
was a vote of the board.
Yes.
And yeah.
My question on this would be, I see, she's sharing her concern and dissatisfaction. Based on the appeals process, is our response back to just say, we've received the notice? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe we
Okay.
should look at I'm not sure what our,
Because I don't see, she's noting the kind of timeline here, which I see.
Well, I think
But she's saying responding within 7 days of its receipt. We received it today.
I think your response could be in writing or in person or again, I'm not sure how it plays into this specific instance, but she has a right to appear before us and
I looked up the appeals process.
thank you.
It says at the bottom, it's the library user. If the library user is dissatisfied with the decision of the library director, the library user may then appeal this decision to the library board of trustees. This grievance must be made in writing to the chair of the library board of trustees within 7 days of the decision from the library director. The chair will bring the matter to the board for its consideration, review, and action. The board shall review the request within 30 days from the receipt by the chair. The board will notify the library user within 7 days of the board's final decision.
Is that the same for staff though?
It's a little bit different,
Uh-huh.
but
It's the one
staff can always,
Mhm.
Sure.
Sure. I mean,
state
we
a
welcome it.
grievance.
Yeah. Totally. I guess, if you would like to reply to her, but I don't know what. Usually when
I
someone has a
think
grievance,
the
they
re-
want us to take an action and it really isn't clearly stated what the action she's requesting
Well,
would
she's,
be.
and what I see a commonality with both of these is just raising the concern. And I think there's an opportunity to respond to both of them to say, what we've just been saying right here.
Yeah. Maybe the action is just to state
Well,
on
this
paper.
isn't to me. This is to Yvette right now, which I could reply.
I am now
Okay,
Absolutely.
submitting
bringing
it to the
Okay,
board,
just making
so-
sure I want to follow the
because
process. so-
I can't act on this.
Yeah.
Because it's a board decision.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yep.
So
So-
submitting and writing my concern and dissatisfaction with both the decision and pending action.
I don't even know how, other than just telling her,
It's been
Oh,
received.
and just actually all the staff, that it's like, our goal this year is to do this
Mhm.
and get this done, whether it's a salary cert, whatever it is, and let them know.
Well, I would be happy to write them each a letter from me as chair saying that we hear and understand their concerns and that we're committed to addressing it. this year. I mean, but I don't want to state specifically what we're going to do, because if we don't get a salary survey,
Right.
we're going to use that spreadsheet as guidance, and we can't promise anything because we're still going into a budget process, but we can do our best, right? Which is like, I feel like what we've been trying to do over the past few years as well. So,
Well, I think if we also acknowledge, we recognize which we've been transparent about, recognize the strategic plan was pushed back due to circumstances out of our control. It's being picked back up. That will be woven into the actions with the budget, so that, they can just understand, like, it's not like we haven't been keeping it in mind, and you can go back to the minutes and see that we've talked about it. I just think this is a good opportunity for that transparency back, to say, this is what's in process already. This is what's being held up.
And it is important to us.
It is important. Very,
yeah,
very
it is.
important.
And I do feel that, I mean, we've been consistently working on it, right? We've been consistently
Absolutely.
working on it. We know it's an issue, and I know that it doesn't address people's specific concerns, but all boats rise, right? If we're making the staff who are hourly, their wages are going up, that reflects well for the future of our full-time staff, because that is the direction we're heading. That is what we're trying to do. This was an immediate concern and something we could afford. It's a lot easier to raise a salary that's 10 hours a week versus raise everybody's salaries who are 40 hours a week when we're faced with the concerns of a default budget. So that, and I'm not even sure if we had gone forward, if we had been able to have our budget the way we wanted it, that the concerns would be any different, because there still was going to be not a huge differential between the two staff, because I think our original one was 250 and 6%. That was still going to be there. We're still going to be close together. The highest paid part-time person was still going to be close to our lowest paid full-time person. That was just going to be the way it was. So I don't know. And I'm not saying it's right. We're just trying to move in the right direction, with good intent and,
But I mean, the other part of that is the whole total compensation. I mean, you can't ignore that. I realize it's not with respect to the paycheck, but between benefits like the healthcare and
paid sick time,
retirement,
paid
and
vacation. Like
there is an extra burden put on our budget with full-time staff, so that you just don't have with part-time. So I mean, I understand it. It just happens.
Yeah, no,
but
I
it's
get.
just part of the budget.
Well, and I think we have to look at it from all perspectives, right? Like, of course, we want to do what's right by the staff. We want to do all the things that are right for the library. We also have an obligation to the taxpayers and to managing things well. So we're trying to balance both of those things. And we look at the whole picture. So we see the impact on all the other things too. So I am happy to offer to write something. I will draft it and share it with you all, like to each of them, acknowledging their letters and concerns, and including some of the things we've discussed tonight about the strategic plan, our intentions moving forward, what we would like to see.
And maybe to what you just said, pulling that together to say, look, this is a multi-step process. It's not going to stop just because we do
Right.
one action. It's we're committed to keeping it going.
Right. Other thoughts, concerns?
I don't know if a meeting is helpful or if that makes things worse. I mean, years ago, we would, around the budget time, we would meet with staff and the trustees together. We would go over what we were proposing, and that kind of, I think, helped make it more transparent for staff to know what we were trying for. Obviously, this is later in the process.
I
And
think
it's hard to get
yeah.
all staff together
Well,
at the same
we've
time
had-
and make that and put
We've
that on
had full
them.
staff meetings, and we usually would do them, like Thursday morning, 8:30, and you're always, as a board, able to request Yvette, schedule a full staff meeting, and people who can come can come. I mean, if you all have other obligations at 8:30 in the morning, then you can say, okay, we're going to have a meeting and it's going to be 6:00. I mean, it's up to you. You're always, have the ability to request to call a full staff meeting.
What is the pleasure of the board? What would you like to do?
I wish we knew, we could ask staff, because I don't want them to feel obligated to come in for an 8:30 morning, you know, it's.
I could include that.
I
Yeah.
ask them to come in for 8:30 trainings for things.
Yeah, but I don't
Bring
want it to be more of
food.
a burden, you know,
Exactly.
more of a burden to make it worse, you know, and I don't know if that's helpful.
That's I'm saying 8:30 because that's the time when some of the staff have their department meetings before they open. So that was the most, that was the time that worked for the largest department, which happens to be circulation. So
There's
that's
gonna be no time where everybody's already there, so somebody's gonna be put out for having to come in.
Sure.
So,
But I think of the two folks who submitted letters, they will both be there because they aren't in school and have after hours,
Mhm.
work hours.
I don't know. I mean, I can offer that in the letter that we would be happy to have a full staff meeting if they think that would be helpful for people to have an opportunity to talk. Or, I mean, I really don't know what to say. I do worry that it's not that I don't want to be transparent with people, but I'm going to tell them the same thing that Yvette told them. I don't know that that's going to change
be
anything.
satisfying,
Yeah.
I almost feel like we'd be better positioned once we get the strategic plan to go with, here's the message.
Mhm.
Because I understand, I understand, they've made it, we have one for concern and dissatisfaction, and we have another concern that's written out for all those different reasons. And I think reiterating what Yvette said back to them would be a good response. But I think this is also an opportunity in light of the last couple of months that we've had to look at this strategic plan, look at the content and the themes of it, and kind of look at the context and say, all right, how does this all fit together?
Mhm.
And then go with like something that offers them some insight into what we've seen from the strategic plan, what we're doing with the strategic plan. It could be like just a well thought out sharing of, to be transparent instead of a reaction to these dissatisfactions with decisions that had to be made for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
I like the idea of following the strategic plan because you can point to it. It's like, this is what we're
It's
doing.
their feedback.
Right. But at the same time, I don't know when it's going to be done. And
Ooh, that's
this
not
is
good. Yeah.
this is something is eminent in my eyes. So I mean, we will start thinking about the budget like October, and then really getting into it in November.
And we want to have an idea about salaries before we sit down. We don't want to come to the table in
Absolutely.
October and be like,
Yeah.
oh my
So-
gosh. So I think that looking at Yvette's sheet is a first step in
Yeah.
that
Okay.
for us. So
So
On the 11th, aren't we meeting with
Deb, yeah.
Then that's to get kind of the brief, right? To get,
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I guess
Okay.
that's to see
Oh,
where we
so
are with the
I
process
thought
and
you
where
were
we're
like-
going. No, I actually don't. I mean, she said she usually meets with trustees at this point, so she will be setting the agenda. I'm not sure exactly what she's going to cover from that. So sorry, I don't.
that's okay.
Yeah.
But
So,
I think,
I don't know.
that's, we made a commitment
Mm-hmm.
in that. So it's going to be I'm going to be very curious entering that meeting to, what themes, what she has to share
Sure.
with us,
Sure.
and then what we're able to determine we can do with that.
Yeah.
Because I can put myself in the shoes of the staff where they're like, you said you were going to do that. And yes, there were reasons, and we can speak to those as at a top level, but we do want to follow through on the strategic plan.
Yeah, and I guess from my perspective, we certainly want to address it. But if people look back at like the last few years, we really have been. And actually, Janet had sent me. I asked her what we've been doing. So probably in the last since 2017, I think there were 2 years for. I don't know if that was for whatever reason there were no raises, but other than that, it's been consistently we've been trying to do that. And it might be that a simple raise isn't addressing the issue, and there needs to be some more like a adjustment to a salary versus just having everybody do that. But then there's going to be people whose salaries are adjusted in different ways, so that's going to be something too. So I think that's where the chart will help us get some guidance on
Yeah,
what the indicator is. So I will do my best to craft something that
Yeah.
takes all these points into consideration, and then send it out for feedback and comments on it, I guess, would be before I send it to them, if people are okay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that sounds good.
And I think the idea of meeting, yeah, I think even if we ended up, after we met with Deb, if we felt there was something
Yes,
constructive
definitely.
to contribute,
Yeah.
but just to meet to basically reiterate everything that Yvette said, I'm not sure
I
that's
understand. I
productive
agree.
use of
I
anybody's
agree.
time right there. It would be
No,
nice
I
if we had new information and some definite steps we were taking before
Yeah.
we met with them to explain it. So, Molly, thoughts? Robbie, thoughts? Anything?
I still, to me, the appeals policy is not this subject.
Yeah.
But I think we have, if we are loosely applying that, that the board has 30 days and then 7 days is how that reads. That the board reviews within 30 days. So anyway, I mean, I know we'll be timely in a response, but
Yeah.
getting information back. So, but I mean, I think we had a lot of conversation about what to do with and how to approach wages, and in the end, it's not entirely in our control how the town how things play out with the town. So, I understand it. I think it's not specific to the Merrimack town or library. I think it is an interesting time. Just the culture of it and the society of the rapid inflation. I mean, we could go on about economics, which we won't, but
Yeah.
I think I think it's something that every industry is struggling with right now. So it doesn't, it's not surprising to get that feedback, but it is hard to be like not able to move forward exactly how we would craft it. So that's
We
my
all
thought.
see this as a snapshot of a moment in time as part of the process versus the end. So I know it's hard when you're in the middle of the process. It doesn't look great all the time for everybody. But hopefully over time, more people will be satisfied. I'm not sure what other options there are to respond to this other than a letter. I couldn't think of any other responses, particularly, so I'm not sure what else could be done.
Right. If like, yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
budget's been submitted as well.
Yeah. All right. So maybe someone would make a motion that I will be writing a response to our 2 employees and for your, I just think it should be on record what we're doing and that it wasn't just generated by me to choose to do it. So
I would like to make a motion that Deb will be responding to these 2 written grievances, appeals, with generally the responses that we had talked about before, sometime within soon, basically
yeah, within, you can say within a certain number of days.
within.
It is 30 days.
30 days.
I'd
is
say
that-
30 days. I think.
Okay.
So
If it will be done before that, but I think if you say 30 days, that gives me time to
Yeah.
craft it and post it out to you for your input. So
as part of that motion, I'd like to add that will be within a 30-day time frame.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay.
We make it shorter. I just feel like 30 days is like when staff is feeling that way.
I think Yvette can let them know that the board is coming back with a response. But I mean, the process says 30 days, right? Is that what you were saying?
It does say that.
Yeah, it does say that.
I mean, as loosely as this applies, that's
Right.
what it says.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
have-
I don't have access to the staff,
Staff.
but I don't have access to that right now. So it's,
You can say
the
14
library.
days if that seems like it's more reasonable. I could make that work. It's like,
Well, and if the concern is about this letter, you could respond back to say the board's received this.
I
Oh, you
I
did already?
communicated that before this meeting.
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay, so that's been resolved.
That's already been yes.
Thank you.
So yeah, okay, yeah, just caught the 7-day piece in here in the letter.
But that's been taken care of.
Okay. All right. So we'll say within 14 days then. We'll
Perfect.
amend that. The response will be within 14 days.
Second again?
sure.
I'd like to make a motion
Sure.
that Deb will respond
Uh-huh.
in writing to these to written grievances with the letter with the contents that we discussed within 14 days.
Any further discussion? Molly seconded. So, okay, all those in favor? I will vote 500. I will write it and I will send it out. I can't send it as a Google Doc that we all communicate because that's considered a meeting technically if we're doing that, but I can send you a draft and then you can give me your edits and I will take those into consideration and come up with a final. So, okay. Thank you for bringing this to us, Yvette, and for being the face of the board in a time which is very challenging because that is not easy. So,
You're very welcome.
okay. Anything else on the default budget? I will say the staff did a really good job of like coming up with areas to hone. I won't say cut, I'll say to hone. And yeah, so thank you. Okay, moving on to the policy review. So let's see, Yvette, what would you like to start with for our policy review?
Okay, so I mentioned this a little bit earlier that we would like to propose to charge fees for out-of-state interlibrary loan requests. Alyssa had done some research and brought it to department heads. We discussed it. And this is her recommendation. I am in support of this recommendation. It makes a lot of sense. So I don't know if you have questions about her proposal.
Makes sense.
No. Yeah. Okay.
And I think somewhere there were commentary about the amount of time or work associated with the out-of-state versus the in-state requests.
Yeah. So when it's mailing, you have to go to the post office and mail the item. We receive the item, but then we are also mailing it back. And it's, when you request something that's not in our library or the GMOX library, then there's another catalog we can search. So we can search the state library catalog. If it's not there, we can search WorldCat and see, oh, it's in Illinois. And we've done that in our statistics and our year-end kind of snapshot. You'll see the item that traveled the farthest came from this library in California. So it's that kind of thing. So that's, there is additional work just for those kind of items.
That point and to process.
Well, I think we like to try and get stuff that people are asking for. We want to fill a request.
Mm-hmm.
And so the staff really goes, I think it's a little above and beyond, just getting something from GMILKS or from the state of New Hampshire, but really having to go beyond and say, can we find this in an academic library at Harvard? That's out of state.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be mailed to us if the library permits that. Because they don't always permit that. They won't release their items. So, but the staff works really hard to fulfill it.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna. So this charge is actually just for the outgoing. They wouldn't get charged, or we don't get charged if
It's our outgoing, and we didn't talk about what another library might charge us postage. Yeah. We didn't talk about that. But I know when she, because she will go to the post office, or Stephanie will go to the post office to mail, and then Alyssa's making the deposits now. So it's like, yep, I'm confirming all these, items that she's saying. It's total.
So maybe it should be double because is this only accounting for it going one direction? And we don't know.
Well, she did say in somewhere that it's between like 3.5 and 4.5 or something. So maybe if it were like 7.
I think we go with what she proposed, which is $5. And if she finds that that's
Sure.
still not enough,
If-
then she can come back with another proposal to us. But I think
That's a
rather than
good
us
idea.
trying to guess what would be a good
Yeah.
one, I think
Yeah.
we.
Because we've been receiving items,
Mhm.
and that's not the conversation around the table, is how much a library is going to charge to send it to us. This is the conversation around
Right.
the table. So I don't know. I can,
We'll just check
Tell
it.
her to
I mean,
track it.
I know she'll track it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So if she finds that we need to increase it, then we will.
Yeah.
But I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal to charge fees for out-of-state ILL requests, and we go with the $5 flat fee to cover all costs.
A second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all
Goes
those in
in
favor?
fines.
500 to go into fines. It goes into fines. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Do you want to just go right to the interlibrary loan policy then, since that is, which conveniently has a red line at number 4 that out-of-state loans will be assessed a $5 postage charge. So, okay. And that's really the only change, right?
that's just
Okay.
making it clear so it connects
Yep.
to.
Okay. I'll make a
this
motion that
proposal.
we accept the ILL policy with the proposed changes.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? 500. Great. And let's see, you also had circulation policy.
Yes. I did also include, or I also printed out a fee schedule. And Robbie, I don't know if you found 7 copies of a different fee schedule that had other changes.
I hadn't found it yet.
Okay, that's, I didn't have time to separate, but one of the things that we thought we might need to do is put these charges in our fee schedule so it's upfront, and not buried in a policy or in a separate policy. So I have one, and then I looked at one that I also got from Melissa that had additional things in there, which is in Robbie's bundle of papers because I didn't have time to separate. Sorry.
I am looking.
I grabbed it and I ran. But
Here
while
we
you're, yay! Okay, thanks. If you don't mind.
Yes, pass that on.
I see there's a change while that's for the lost damage materials too. And it says that we can use the e-commerce site online.
So
Can we not
Right.
use that in the library?
right now, you can, I can pay for my damaged items
Thank you.
from remotely.
Okay.
And I was looking to see if e-commerce was the name of a company or something like that. I think it's just the term, and we probably wouldn't
For
capitalize
Square
it.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, thanks.
So we don't have the Square station set up at the circulation desk
Not
for
yet.
people.
She's still doing some research with other libraries to see, because it's, as far as we know, it's connected to one account.
Uh-huh.
But I'm sure patrons would appreciate, using a debit card to buy friends of the library book
That's what
sale
you're
books
saying.
that are
Yep.
right there on the
Yep.
shelf right near us, or other things. So it's like,
We can do that.
okay. So I'll follow up with Melissa, and then we'll,
Okay.
because she's just, talking with other circulation departments at other libraries that have Square, and they've already implemented it, but everything is a little bit different about how funds go through their foundation or
Or the
trustee-
town.
Exactly. It's totally different. So it's really just, here's what's possible. And if, Janet, you say we can,
What I read, it says we can.
okay,
So,
that'd be awesome.
so yeah.
'Cause we're waiting.
I think that'd be great because it sounds like silly, but even having to bring something up on my phone versus just, tapping it is like, I know that sounds incredibly lazy, doesn't it? But like, I just would like to be able to just do it, not have to do an extra step there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, great.
So we'll follow up.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're trying to just make some of the changes that we've been doing reflected in the policy.
Great. Any other questions for Yvette?
Okay. And Alyssa did all of this work.
Okay.
I just want to give her credit.
So the credit card processing fee of $2 minimum.
Yeah. And then page 6 has the interlibrary loan change that you just approved. Yeah, so I'm actually looking at two different things, Deb. I'm in the circulation policy.
Yep.
And then the fee
schedule.
schedule
Yep.
that Robbie just passed around.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So any questions for Yvette about either one of these? Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the circulation policy with the changes noted.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? 500. And then I will make a motion to accept the new fee schedule with the noted changes.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 500. Thank you to Alyssa for getting those ready.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Were those the only policy things you had for us?
Yes.
Okay. Jen, any news on grants?
Grants, when Janet and I met, Janet and I met with Yvette and Jen for building committee. We also talked a little bit about grants. And so Janet and I have delved into the online portal a little bit, and it's a little overwhelming because there's so much out there, and you really need to kind of start with a goal of what you're looking for, not just what's out there for grants and then try to take that grant and what can we use it on. So we talked to Yvette a little bit about some of the things, what are some of the wish list things that maybe we could start looking for. And some of those things included home delivery, digitizing newspapers, and possibly bringing back a human library again. So those are some of the things that we could kind of look and see, is there something that fits for those, and that kind of, maybe our kind of test project to start using the system. So that's the update.
Great, thank you. Okay, director's report.
Okay. I have several gifts and donations. First of all, we received a donation of a book entitled Alcoholics Anonymous, 4th edition, from Merrimack resident Sarah Collins. We would like to add this to our adult nonfiction collection.
I'll make a motion that we accept the book entitled Alcoholics Anonymous, 4th edition, from Merrimack resident Sarah Collins.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 500. Thank you.
Thank you. We have received a donation of a card shuffler from Merrimack resident Judith Gray. We would like to add this item to our library of things.
I'll make a motion that we accept the donation of a card shuffler from Merrimack resident Judith Gray.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Great, 500.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
did have another one that I added to this since I sent the packet out. We received a donation of $50 from the Merrimack Garden Club to purchase children's books that are garden related.
Great. I would make a motion that we accept the $50 donation from the Merrimack Garden Club to purchase children's books that are garden related.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 500. Thank you for all those generous donations.
Okay. I feel like the trust fund and donations chart here, Jen and I have been emailing today about it, and it is woefully out of date already. And I need to go back tomorrow to look at Janet's suggested changes, which are all excellent. So I don't know if you want to speak to this section, or I'm not prepared.
I don't know. This is a snapshot probably of a couple weeks ago. That's all. But they've made lots of good strides to spend more money, and which is good because we took this money from the trust funds. We want them to spend it as it's been requested, and they're working through it.
Yeah, I'll say that a lot of the DCU is summer reading stuff, which we do tend to, spend those funds and most of the funds in the summer because of the really heavy use of the library during summer reading program. So, okay. Oh, I do need to ask you about the Chamber of Commerce dinner. So we were nominated for Nonprofit of the Year by members of the Greater Merrimack-Sohegan Valley Chamber of Commerce. And the annual award dinner is in June. And they would like to know if anyone wants to come. I think I sent you information in your packet about the cost of the ticket for dinner. Some of us went last year when we were nominated. I can send you the brochure that was dropped off at the library for us. I can tell you who we are nominated alongside. We are also nominated alongside for Nonprofit of the Year with Granite Region SCORE and the YMCA of Greater Nashua. So that is up to you if you want to come.
Congratulations to the library for being nominated once again.
Exactly.
I
think
I know I will
depends.
not be able to attend, but I
can't
don't know if
either.
anybody else is
Okay.
interested in attend.
I'm not gonna be able to. That's my son's
I might be able
graduation.
to.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. It's graduation day.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
What was the date? June
June 3rd.
3rd?
Yeah.
I will get back to you.
Okay.
This has been several years in a row. It's great.
Thank you. So yeah, anyone, if you want to come, then email me sooner than later, because they're asking me to send them our bio, so our kind of business bio that can be included in the program, and of course purchase any tickets if people want to come. But you know, it's at Hampshire Hills. It's a nice venue. Lots of communicating with other people.
It was fun last year.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was some.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
talked
we
with
took
some
over
nice
almost
people.
an entire table.
Yeah.
So if I could ask for some direction about, would you like me to go? Do you want me to extend the invitation to staff? And if so, how many? What's my limit?
How did you do it last year?
Was 3 trustees. And
Yeah, it was the three of us.
three
Three of us,
staff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you,
because it was Jen,
Alyssa.
Alyssa, and you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you specifically invite those people, or you put it out to
I
all
probably
staff?
put it
and
out
that's-
to the staff
Yeah.
to see who would want to come. But we do have 20 staff, and you need to give me a limit.
Mhm.
I don't think they would all go, but I feel like they should be invited.
I would say maybe again Yvette plus 3 from the library. I
Sure.
don't know. And then I don't know. Doesn't sound like too many of us might be able to make it, but
Yeah, I can't make it.
Robbie, can you go?
I don't think I can make it the 3rd. Let's
So-
double check. But
So maybe me.
Mhm.
So I would say whatever we had. So that was.
I was gonna say we had
3,
6 last
6,
year, and so
six.
there's 1 and
A
2
table.
and take another 2
a
and 4.
table.
Yeah.
I think we had
Oh.
one person that wasn't.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
us
I think
last year.
tables are 8.
I think they're
Wanna do
8.
Yeah.
up
Oh,
to
right.
up to a whole table.
what time is it on the 3rd?
It's like 5:30.
5:30, but dinner started a little later. So if you could do that early, I don't think you could show up later.
I would say there's a good chance, but I don't like to answer questions before I consult my supervisor at home.
That's wise. I have that same rule in my house.
So why don't we get back to you that by tomorrow?
That sounds
that
good. Yeah, I can ask.
That'd be helpful. Okay. Okay.
And does that come out of trustee funds, fines,
Special.
or not fines?
Passport.
Okay. So what's my limit?
We should
Table of
we?
8.
Do we
8.
need to vote? No. Yes.
We had 6 last year. The table fits 8.
I'll make a motion that that Yvette is authorized to purchase a table or purchase up to 8 tickets for this. So,
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? 500. Thank you, Yvette.
Okay.
and staff.
Thank you. I'm just gonna peek and see what else I might have highlighted.
I think we did a lot of the things that you had in red, so that
Oh,
was
good.
exciting.
Oh,
There
good.
was late
Yeah,
roof
yeah, we
and
already went through that. the
the-
chiller.
yeah, I'm glad we
That's
dealt with that.
awesome.
I'm glad
Okay.
I'm glad we did that early in the meeting rather than now.
Yeah.
Just when Jen and I met with you, who was it, the chiller people? What company was happy about the retro commissioning?
Oh, it was the vendor.
Yeah, I just
the
wanted to
HVAC
share that.
vendor.
It was Johnson Controls.
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm talking about is when Jen and I met, apparently when Johnson Control came in, which I don't know why.
They did the walkthrough to look at the chiller and what were we asking about for, we want research for an RFP, and they came in when we were having the stair tread done. Jonathan from IT was also around, and Dick, who does our computers. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on at Disclose Day. So yes, they came in.
So they came in and heard about this retro commissioning that we did for the HVAC.
Well, we
and-
gave them the packet. We gave them the report so they could just see it in the same language, engineer language.
And they thought it was a good idea.
and
They were excited.
They were excited.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
when we met, she just was like, they were so excited.
Well, that's great. I feel like that was money well spent. Like we're able to
Yeah.
make some small changes that are going to make a difference. So that's great. Okay. Is there anything else?
No, unless you have a question about anything in the report.
Anyone?
I very much appreciate the organization of it. So
Yes.
That's what we're going to
looking-
stick with.
looking good from
yeah.
my perspective.
Okay, and
Bullets are so nice, right? There's like
it was always bulleted. It just wasn't broken out into
maybe the like
collection,
yes,
outreach,
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't remember which staff person said it makes it easier for them to fill in.
Sure.
Because
Oh,
then
I
they're
bet.
thinking of it in a different
Yeah.
way. And I'm like,
Yeah.
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 so everyone is happy.
Great.
Sorry, I have a couple of notes that
No worries.
I just wanted to say the new display shelving looks terrific.
Yep.
Janet and I were in, and Joanne showed them to us, and they're great.
It's really nice.
And then under the computer issues, there were a couple things about, Dick had mentioned
Yep.
that some computers were slow and they're not solid state drives, and maybe they need to be upgraded or that part changed out. And then also that there's a Windows 11 required upgrade coming in fall of 2025, and making a list of those computers that are not compatible with that. Does it make sense to itemize both of those, and then the computers that don't have the solid state drives and are not compatible with the upgrade, we just change those out now?
Probably that would, yeah.
So you don't need us to act on any of that at this point.
I mean, there's still a lot of money in the general ledger, generally. I mean, if you wanna, what do you wanna do?
There is.
Yeah.
But I was also wondering if, not to add something to your list,
Uh-huh.
but an end of year expenditure.
Yeah, yeah.
I know from years we're not going to just do a blanket buy, because then they all crap out at the same time. So we kind of cycle through our computers. But between the ones that are running slowly, or just plain the ones that are old, maybe there's some sort of cycle we can work through.
Okay, yeah.
It seems like a decent expenditure with the extra money and the state of the computers.
Okay.
Again, while Jen and I were doing our building, we noticed we took a tour to the north corners, the northwest corner and the northeast corner. They are dark, and in the library, those just happens. Those two corners they're dark, and Yvette made a comment in her report about the lighting in that area, trying different options, trying to get it lighter, more visible for people just to see the titles and whatnot. So I know you were looking at moving the shelves again, and then there's a quote. Was it in our packet?
No,
Oh. Um,
no, because I'm still info gathering, so I
Yeah.
can't give you a lighting quote to compare to,
sure.
or if we shift the shelves
The other
90 degrees, it would cost this. So I don't have the full
Right.
comparison yet, but I'm hearing back from other libraries about moving companies that they've used and their pros and cons and experience, so that I can reach out to them and say, what would it cost to do this?
Nice.
You know,
Great.
yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you went and explored the corners.
Oh yeah.
We
You
did.
know,
We went
we did.
downstairs and checked out the children's room and the way she's recatalogued everything. and
Yeah.
good,
That
yeah.
looks really
excellent.
cool.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, in reality, those corners, if we were there during the day, and I know how my eyes are, and if I had been there like right now, okay, maybe a half an hour ago, I know I would have had my phone up with my flashlight on, being like, okay,
Really?
what's that title? So
Okay.
I know I would have, because
Okay.
they're just between the plastic wrap that's around them, and they're tipped, and I have progressives. I know I would be like, okay, I need some
Okay,
light.
that's great feedback. You know,
So-
because I'm in the building every day and I'm not in the corners. You know, I mean,
Right.
it's always great to have fresh eyes on this, you
Yeah.
know, because now you're looking at it as a patron.
Right.
So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we felt it's a worthwhile thing to be looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whichever
Okay.
solution works the
Yeah.
best.
All right. I'll keep researching it, you know, and I'll bring you something when I have something.
For the computers, do you want to bring us something next month?
Sure.
On that?
Yeah, because then it's June.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Great. Any other comments or thoughts for Yvette? Okay, moving on to committee updates. Nothing for the building exploratory. It's just on there as a place saver. I went to the Friends meeting because Jen was gracious enough to switch with me and go to the development fund. So for the Friends, they're going to be doing their book sale on June 22nd. Setup will be on June 20th and the 21st, and that will be the day of the pre-sale and meeting as well. Kathy was there, and the Friends are again helping support the summer reading program as they do every year very generously. So we really appreciate that. The theme of the summer reading program is Adventure Begins at Your Library. And yeah, I think that's sort of most of what we talked about. So book fair. I keep saying that. Book sale. Book sale.
Teacher
Book
in you.
sale. So yes. And their next meeting will be June 10th because they wanted to meet obviously before the book sale. So
Development
Development
Fund,
Fund, yes,
I
thanks.
attended. we swapped for the month, and Yvette was there. Gosh, it was pretty brief. They had concerns about the budget and were very kind, and wanted to help with solutions, but it really wasn't a fit for development fund money. I think they went over their financials. I don't recall. I don't think there was any other action, so it was pretty brief. The next meeting.
looks like it's July
July-
22nd.
Yep. And then I went to the town center committee meeting, the last one they had. I don't have the date in front of me. It was a couple weeks ago. Things that are of interest to the library. Church Street, they're still discussing whether that gets closed off on Daniel Webster Highway or not. They presented that to town council. Town council decided they want some different concept designs. So the biggest concern is, how does traffic flow? You know, people going into the church, people going into the O'Leary Center. They have to have room for emergency vehicles to turn around up there. So that's what they're working on now, is getting some different concepts of where would everybody go if they didn't have that kind of emergency exit there. And I did bring up the concern of people coming down the wrong way, because that happens occasionally. I was at the library the other day,
Yeah.
and somebody with Connecticut plates was backing up the wrong way, and I was like, "No, go! You gotta go that way." So that would obviously probably increase. So just something to think about for the library. Other concerns they had were the Sauhegan River Walk project. As Dawn has spoken at the town council meetings too, that there's been several delays. They're looking at hopefully a completion late August at this point. So those were things that were beyond their control. And I think that's about it that concerns the library.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Thanks for going to that.
Yep.
Okay, Personnel Committee. Is there anything for us from the Personnel Committee?
I will just quickly circle back to the goals document I know Marie mentioned at the start, which was emailed to the group on May 6th. And there is one item that needs a date still filled in, which is around training milestones for staff development. I don't know if that's conducive to putting a date to, because I feel like that might be an ongoing
I don't know what
topic. Yeah. I mean, because it's a very general statement. So that's the only piece from that document that's outstanding. Yeah. So under goal number.
Can you move up, please? I didn't bring it. I had it.
Oh, that's okay.
This one is what I was talking about.
The financial transition goal also has that the board has an action item to identify any specific sub goals as well by June 30th. So that would be on
Okay.
the board's to-do list.
Yeah, and if I could just, I think also the staff evaluations said July 30th, but we actually do them before June 30th because the fiscal year ends
Okay.
June 30th.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes,
So any
okay.
feedback on that? So let me make a note of that then.
Okay.
And I think that training milestones is referring to other pieces of like learning that are already mentioned earlier in the document is my assessment, but I don't know that I would say we don't need a date specifically for that item.
So then just take that out and then add June 30th for the staff goals instead of July.
Yes.
And I'll put on the action items the specific sub goals under financial goals that we need to get to you by June 30th. There's things like that.
If there's anything else
Yep.
specific to
Okay.
add there. That
Okay.
yeah, and then that piece will be set and complete. Thanks
Great.
everybody for their input, and thanks Ruth Marie for your edits. Another question that I had, because I think we talked about last month that one of the next items would be just taking a look, and Yvette has already sent to Ruth Marie and myself her current version of the job description. But my question before we start looking at that is, does that job description lie with the town or is it with the board?
It's the board.
The board. Okay. Okay, great. So I just didn't know if
Yeah.
it was a bigger, like
No.
broader scope
No.
project than, what I was hoping
Yeah.
it was. Okay, that's helpful. I don't think I have anything else. Thank you.
Great. Okay, Finance Committee.
So I have notes from when Deb and I met on May 13th. A couple of things we've already talked about, like Square. She and I discussed Square and where we're going with it. And Deb asked if it was going to be in the building. And we're working towards that. And we can get another account set up. So that would be good. We talked about salary, and Deb already talked about that, and how we want our salary schedule or a salary, what's it called? A salary survey. Just get that figured out before the budget. This Thursday, Deb and Yvette and I are meeting with Paul McCallie, the town manager, and Paul Calabria, the town finance director, with our Terry Knowles letter, and we also should be discussing the the salary schedule that this town has. So those were those two things. And then end of year expenditures was just something because we were talking about finance, we figured that was coming soon. And then as far as collections go, we talked about collections, and one of the questions I had was just how far back?
Did
'Cause
she
I-
go?
Yeah, well, because I remember there was you and I and Alyssa just had an impromptu conversation about collections, and because of COVID, we like stopped fines. So like there's a cutoff date for that, and then going forward, and then it was just how far back, and then from that discussion, at some point, it sounds kind of dumb, but won't we be done? Won't we have
Yes.
submitted everybody?
Yes, and I cannot speak to it as
It's okay.
well as Alyssa can because she put so much thought into how far back do you go.
Okay.
And she went back a certain way, and then she went back a little bit farther. So however far she went back, she's satisfied that that was far enough to go.
Okay.
And yes, we do get to an end point
Okay.
at a certain time. So I think where we are right now, everything that she wanted to submit going back a second time has been submitted.
Okay.
And if I'm incorrect, I will double check with her because she put so much thought into this. Yeah. And, one of the things that she brought up today in our meeting in department heads was, the trustees agreed to try this out for a certain amount of time. And then she's really looking at, is this worth it for us as she's submitting?
Good for her.
Oh yeah. It's her wheelhouse. The right person is looking at this stuff and really considering it, and what's the workload, so she's on it.
Good to
Okay.
hear.
Yep.
Great.
That
Do you
was
want
it.
to
Yeah.
add anything?
Okay.
So,
I think the only other thing to throw out there, and we are meeting with Deb June 11th, but traditionally we do have a trustee orientation at some point, and one of the things we thought would be useful would be to go over the Terry Knowles letter to explain like what the different legal restrictions on trustee money and that sort of thing, just so people have a really like comprehensive understanding. So I think maybe we can talk about that, maybe getting together sometime over the summer for a meeting or something like that. Or I think we met in the fall as like a little trustee retreat at one point too. I think we did that in September one time. So it might even make more sense to put it off since we've all been trustees for a while, but just to have a chance as we're going into, the fall, and maybe we'll have more to discuss with salaries at that point too. But I'm just putting it out there that we have had trustee orientation. We do want to make sure we all are on top of the financials and coming from the same perspective. Meetings are hard. We've had a lot going on. We have this other additional meeting this coming month in June, so I don't want to burden anybody, but just putting it out there that that's something we'd like to do also. So,
sounds good.
okay. All right. That's all I think we have for the finance committee, unless people have any questions for us. Building committee, do you have anything else you'd like to mention?
We covered everything.
Yeah,
Did we jump over some stuff?
we did.
Okay.
What did I miss?
The treasurer's
Treasurer's
report.
report.
I'm so sorry. I went right from the director's report down to committee updates. We'll go back. Sorry. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the treasurer's report. I'm sorry, Janet.
Hey,
So,
it's all good. So for the month of April, we began fines with, I'm looking at the balance sheet, $5,556.97. And then we ended with $4,502.59. And then special began, make sure I'm in the right spot, with $56,071.07. And then we ended with $52,183.13. Did anybody have any questions? Does it make sense? All
Okay.
good. Okay. And I ended up moving that money like I was supposed to do. And then just make sure I'm saying everything. Oh, we need to vote to accept $44.57 from an anonymous donation. So I make a motion to accept $44.57 from an anonymous donation.
Okay, all those in favor? 500, thank you.
Done. So I sent this to Yvette earlier today, but the Quimby is a trust and it's like having its own little separate money pot, and they overspent it by $33. It was for programs. The most current expense against Quimby was for programs for promotional pencils for youth service outreach. I would like to suggest the difference be taken out of DCU money. So then the Quimby will go to 0, and then $33 will just get charged to DCU.
Cents.
And 2 cents. Correct. So I'd like to make a motion to pay $33.02 out of DCU money for the program's promotional pencils.
Second. Okay, any questions for Janet about that? Okay, all those in favor? 500, thank you, Janet.
And then Yvette and I have been talking, and with the Square deposit information and all the deposits that she's now taken care of, we've coordinated that by the 2nd of the month, actually she's been getting on top of it anyway, but by the 2nd of the month, all of that will be finished on her end and then delivered to me. Just the Square information. I think that.
Okay,
That's
great.
it.
Thank you. Sorry for skipping over you. So, and then we have 4 sets of minutes to look at. We have the ones from our public meeting of April 16th. Did anybody have any comments, questions, suggestions, changes? No? Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the public meeting minutes from April 16th.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 500. Then we also have the April 16th non-public meeting minutes. I'll make a motion that we accept those.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 500. Then we have the April 23rd meeting minutes where we discussed the budget. I'll make a motion that we accept those minutes.
Second.
Okay, any changes or anything? Okay, all those in favor? Jen, excellent job on the minutes. And then an April 25th meeting. Yeah, that's right. We had that one too.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
It's very brief.
Yes. Okay. So,
You know what? Not everybody was at that,
mhm,
the 23rd.
the 23rd. Oh, okay.
So
It's not, right.
Okay. So that does, we do need to change it. 4 is,
Oh,
okay.
Good catch.
This was just us. Yep. And then I'll make a motion that we accept the April 25th meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Thanks. 302.
I'm like, I think that's me.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Jen. All right. Is there anything else I forgot? Is there?
Just at the NHLTA, we gave our information to Yvette if you were going. So it's fun.
Okay. So you guys are you both going? Okay. Great.
Were you
Thanks for
able to
going.
go?
I can't, I'm on call that week. Oh, so I will try to not be on call next time. If I can line those universes up.
Okay. Great. I'm sure you will let us know all the good stuff you learned.
Well, there's a bunch of staff going too.
Well, not a bunch, but Janet, I'm sorry, Jen and I are going.
Oh.
So
Great.
yeah.
Okay, action items. Yvette, I have a lot in their year. Sorry to say. Action items. Well, we have that you were going to get the estimate for the are going to start the RFP chiller process. There's that one, and that you're working with the sprinkler company to get stuff. This is all your stuff you're doing, but just kind of we have it out there. That you're going to find out why the hourly wages are decreasing, and that you'll share the spreadsheet with us of the salaries. Janet, you're going to be able to explain setting up Square to go to other accounts. That'll be something. Okay. All the trustees should consider and send any specific sub goals under a financial goal to Ruth Marie and Molly by June 30th. What else?
You're
Jen-
writing a letter.
Yes. How could I forget that? I will be writing a letter. Thank you, Yvette. I will be writing a letter to the 2 staff members. I wouldn't have forgotten it, but it's good to have it on the there. So
Oh, we have the slate roof got accepted.
Mhm.
The elevator got accepted.
Mm-hmm.
so those will be 2 things that will be getting.
And then
That's mine.
Yep.
the state salaries.
Yep. I already said that. She's going
Okay.
to send us that. Yep.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's good. I'm clearly forgetting things. Anything else? Okay, great. Let's see. The Greater Merrimack Sauhegan Valley, is that correct? The G Chamber of Commerce Annual Awards. Is that? I just want to make sure I got their acronym correct. Greater Manchester,
Greater Merrimack.
Greater Merrimack, right?
Sauhegan Valley.
I said it right the first time. Chamber of Commerce Annual Awards Dinner will be June 3rd at 5:30. And the library is once again nominated for the Nonprofit of the Year. The New Hampshire Library Trustee Association Conference is June 5th from 7:45 to 3:15 at Grapponi Conference Center. The Friends of the Merrimack Public Library will be meeting on June 10th at 7 p.m. in the Director's Office. The Merrimack Public Library Board of Trustees will have their next meeting on June 18th at 7 p.m. Friends of the Library June book sale will be Saturday, June 22nd. The members only 9 to 2, I should say. Members only pre-sale, and their annual meeting will be Friday, June 21st, 5:15 to 7. And the Merrimack Public Library Development Fund Committee will be meeting on July 22nd at 5 p.m. in the Lowell Room.
I will not be present June 18th.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know that.
won't be either.
Okay. Okay. If things change, you know where to find us. We will be here. So, okay. Anything else? Comments from the board? Okay, then I will make a motion that we adjourn at 8:58.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? 500. Okay. Thank you.